You are watching WPTV, award-winning college television.
Welcome back to the desk. You know, the NFL season is about to draw to a close, and here to break it all down is Phritz Napoleon, Tommy Sherwood, Michael Milligan, and Trent Troller. Guys, the Philadelphia Eagles have, they've been on a little skid. Two games in a row that they lose, against the 49ers and Cowboys in back-to-back games. Phritz, how have the Eagles been looking through this two-game skid?
Yeah, let's take a look at their stats. They've put up 16 points per game as they're giving up 37. Only have 657 total yards, 142 penalty yards allowed for them, and they also have been giving up a lot of turnovers, 3 for them so far. Not looking really good against some top competition. Yeah,
they dropped to 5th in the NFC, and it's a very simple question. Phritz, do you think the Philadelphia Eagles should be worried?
I definitely do think that they should be worried. And, I know that you said they've been in a 2-game skid, but I've noticed some chinks in their armor well to that Chiefs game. Past couple of games, they had a sloppy win against the Chiefs, had to go to overtime against a 6-6 Bills team. And then, of course, just those 2 absolute beatings from the 49ers and the Cowboys. Look, one of the things that I've definitely noticed about this team, they haven't had a 100-yard rusher in a while. I feel like they're going through an identity crisis. Before last year when we watched the Eagles, it seemed like they were running to set up the pass. Now it seems like they're passing and trying to set up the run. And I just feel like they definitely need to get DeAndre Swift a lot more involved with this offense. Look, that line is too talented for you to not have a 100-yard rusher in the past 5 games. If they want to get back to the Super Bowl and they want to get past San Fran and the Cowboys, they're going to have to run the ball a lot more.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, like you said, they're kind of doing things backward, passing to set up the run. But Trent, moving over to you, do you think the Eagles should be worried?
No. I mean, there's an argument that can be made. I think Phritz made a lot of very valid points. I agree with a lot of them, quite frankly, but ultimately I don't think there's an issue. We saw the same thing with the 49ers earlier into the season where they lost a string of games that they really should have won, and those were against worse teams than the teams that the Philadelphia Eagles have lost to. So really, I think they just need to get their momentum back, and we'll see the Philadelphia Eagles we've been seeing for the past couple months now.
Yeah, I know our guy Bijan is happy to hear that one. He's a big Philadelphia Eagles fan. But Tommy, moving over to you, you hate the Eagles.
Yeah.
Do you think they should be worried? I mean, they lost to your team.
I'd be worried if I were the Eagles because the Cowboys are just looking so hot right now. They blew them out, I'd even say, last week, and
33-13.
Yeah, and they almost lost to the Bills, who haven't been very good this season, but 2 or 3 very close games that they lost. They didn't lose, but 3 games where they just didn't look that good. So yeah, I'm definitely a little worried.
And you could kind of see it in the linebacker play, and I guess they were hoping that the addition of Shaquille Leonard would address that, but ultimately not working out so far for them. Michael Milligan closing us out for this one. Do you think the Eagles should be worried?
Honestly, I don't see it. I don't see the worry, actually, because if you look at their strength of schedule right now, it goes Seahawks, to then the Giants, to the Cardinals, and then back to the Giants again to finish out the season. Mm-hmm. So I think in that time, they can figure out a way to maybe test some things and see how they can be better and more competitive games. Like the Cowboys, they got blown up by the 49ers, 42, I think, to 19, I think that was. So, I mean, that's going to be a good segue into, maybe for them to get into playoffs, of maybe find themselves a groove. So, no, I don't think you're at worrying point yet, although there are concerns.
Absolutely, but mentioned the remaining schedule. The end of the season's coming. It's right in the rearview mirror, not rearview mirror, but it's coming up ahead on the road, and the playoffs are heating up, and we're starting to get an idea of who's in, who's out, and who might have a chance to sneak into a wild card spot. Milligan, going back to you, who do you think is a dark horse playoff candidate?
My dark horse team is the Green Bay Packers. Let me tell you right now, Jaden Reed for that team has been, really coming to his own. He's
big time.
He's been their great wide receiver they've been going to, and he's getting a lot more touches than he was in the beginning of the season. Jordan Love has been improving, and we've been watching it blossom through our eyes. His decision making now has been much better than what it was in the first half of the season. Now in the latter half, he's doing a fantastic job. And I think when they get Christian Watson back, who's been their number one guy in the beginning, they're only going to get better. So I think they definitely have a good chance of making a good playoff push for a wild card in the NFC.
I would agree. I mean, the Packers, a very young team. Jordan Love, I mean, he looks like he could be another franchise quarterback for them, really, 3 in a row for them. Back-to-back-to-back franchise quarterbacks potentially. But Tommy, moving over to you, Team that probably doesn't have a franchise quarterback on their roster, I think, is your answer.
Yeah, the New York Giants, I think they do have a franchise quarterback. I think Tommy DeVito is looking really good.
You think Tommy DeVito is a franchise quarterback?
I think he can be. If you put some number one receivers around him, I definitely think he could be a franchise quarterback.
There can only be one number one receiver on the team.
Yeah, but put some high-quality receivers around him and, give him a true number one receiver is what I should have said.
Yeah, there you go.
But, he's looking really hot right now, and with how the Eagles are looking, they got 2 games against them. So you never know how that might go out.
Yeah, I mean, any given Sunday, it is true. We've seen it time and time again. Look, man, the New York Giants, they've been, 3 games in a row now they've won. I could see it potentially maybe sneak into there. The NFC's weak. It really is.
I mean, hey, I think it's a very fair point because, he's a very raw quarterback, but we got to remember, he went undrafted.
Yeah.
He's got
I'm not
a
taking
lot
anything
to
again.
learn and
Of course.
develop. I know, I just want to defend this point because I think there is a very valid point that DeVito could be the guy in time. If they develop him right, grow him.
He's moldable
It's
for sure.
I'm a fan.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep it with you, Trent. Who is your team to potentially sneak into the wild card here?
Personally, I got to say the Los Angeles Rams. I think a lot of us forget some of the pieces on this team that made them win the Super Bowl just 2 years ago. Some newer guys like Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams doing great in what are, for Nakua's first season and Williams' second. They still got Stafford on that roster. They have a solid O-line that works well. Steve Avila, another rookie that's been doing very good. And not to mention, they still have Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, Matt Stafford, some real talent on there. I'd say this team would look even better right now if it weren't for the fact a lot of these guys have been getting injured. So if they're able to stay healthy, we're looking at a good playoff team here.
Yeah, I think a lot of people expect them to be, picking towards the top of the draft, but ultimately, I mean, they've looked pretty competitive here in the season so far. Phritz, though, we'll finish it off with you for this one. Who's your potential playoff team?
Yeah, one team I definitely have my eye on is the Cleveland Browns. Look, Joe Flacco, I did not think I would be talking about him in 2023, but it seems like he's found a little bit of a fountain of youth. Not saying that he's top 10 quarterback or anything of that measure, but look, against a pretty good Jacksonville defense, he shredded them up, led them back to a win, but I'm not saying this because of the offensive side of the ball. I'm talking about that defense. That defense is a top 3 unit in this league at this point. And their next games, they have the Bears, which I feel like that's a gimme for them. They have the Texans. C.J. Stroud is out with a concussion. I don't know if he's going to be playing that game, but then they have the Jets and they have the Bengals, who they already beat 24-3 earlier in the season when they had Joe Burrow on that roster. So I definitely think these next games are very winnable. They're sitting at 7-5 right now, so they might be able to squeak into the playoffs. And with that defense, I definitely don't think anybody is looking forward to playing them.
Yeah, I mean, pairing Jim Schwartz with the talent on that defense was just a recipe for success. But, that defense is great. And we've seen a lot of spectacular efforts from a lot of different players this season. And in a few weeks, we'll soon see who is chosen to be this year's All-Pro team. Trent, starting with you, who do you think is deserving of an All-Pro nod?
I mean, I got to go with the Jets. They haven't had the best season, but the one thing that stays strong is that they always say that the Jets have got a great defense. And I think the most important piece of that defense right now is a guy that not everyone's talking about outside of the Jets fan base, and that's Quincy Williams. Both the Williams brothers are great players, but I got to give the nod to Quincy here just because he's developed every single season and got better and better. And now we're looking at the season where he's having one of the best years we've seen out of a linebacker in the last few years.
And it's an unknown
just
name.
a complete monster on that run defense.
Yeah.
He's just gotten so much better as the years go on.
And it's an unknown name, so it's someone that you really want to see get that spotlight for once, very deservedly so. But Phritz, moving over to you, who do you think should be an All-Pro?
Yeah, one person I definitely think should be an All-Pro this year is Christian McCaffrey from the 49ers. Look, this year he has 1,177 yards, 12 touchdowns, also adding in almost 500 yards on the receiving end with 5 touchdowns himself. Look, if the MVP race wasn't so quarterback-centric, especially with a down year for quarterback play, I definitely think he should be in the MVP conversation. He's definitely the engine for that 49er team, and he's really challenging the notion that running backs are going they're not being as important in the NFL because he's really the one that makes that team run. When he's not on the field with the 49ers, you just see that it's a disconnect, but he's really the glue that holds that team together with explosive plays, just being able to be a dump-off option for Brock Purdy. So I definitely think he's one of the best players in the league right now, and it's a shoo-in for him to be an All-Pro.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it earlier. He scored a touchdown in, like, how many consecutive games? I can't even remember. It was
About 14, yeah.
It's somewhere in there, the low teens. It was still an incredible amount. But Michael Milligan, moving over to you, you got the Jets hat on. You're going to pick another Jet like Trent?
I am going to pick another Jet like Trent, but it's not going to be like someone like some people may like Quincy Williams. How about the punter?
Oh, good Lord.
Thomas Morstead, that's
course.
right. Punter love, baby. We love it. We got Tommy here, too. So what we got, let me tell you right now, he's had 76 punts in the season because the Jets have been awful. Word, gang. All right, so we're moving on. So we have average of 49.2 punt, like 49.2 yards per punt, right? That's pretty good. It's long as 62. That's tied for 26. But what's really cool here is that he's tied for second with punts inside the 20, with 28 punts inside the 20. I said the word punt like 4 times. Again, now he's an older punter. He's like 37 years old, which again, it is what it is. But just yeah, and not even just they don't have the stats in here for inside the 5s, but watch him punt. Like go watch some Jets highlights. It's gonna be a long time, trust me. But go watch some Jets highlights. You're gonna watch this guy punt the ball like a work of art, like Picasso painting a painting. All right, so I guess that's how you do it. So yeah, I just think that Thomas Morstead, he is by far deserving of an All-Pro nod.
The day has finally come where we talk about a punter being an All-Pro on
Yes,
the
sir.
Leafy Sports
Everyone
Desk.
would know how
Of
bad
course,
it is.
you're reveling in this. But Tommy,
Yeah.
our resident punter here on the desk, who's your pick for All-Pro?
You know what, man? I really appreciate the punter love right there, but I got to go with Dak Prescott.
Of course you do.
I mean, he is playing phenomenally. He's leading the league in passing touchdowns, so he's just playing just absolutely on another level. He's in his prime right now. MVP favorite. I'm definitely voting him for MVP. So
Oh, you have a say?
no, I don't, but he'd be my vote. He'd be my vote. I wish I had a say, but, you know.
Cowboys win every award.
Oh, of course. But, you know, he's definitely what my pick would be for MVP and All-Pro as well.
You know what? I mean, you're not wrong. It's fun to clown on some Cowboys fans, especially you, Mr. Sherwood. But,
Yeah.
you know, the Cowboys are playing well, and Dak Prescott is definitely a major reason why. But to wrap things up in the NFL, the Super Bowl seems to be coming up fast, being only around 2 months away. So, Tommy, we'll start it back with you. What is your prediction for the matchup of Super Bowl 58?
The Dallas Cowboys versus the Miami Dolphins, man. These are the two most electric offenses in the league. So I'd love to see those two offenses stack up against each other, and the Cowboys,
Fireworks.
I feel like, would ultimately win that because of their
course.
defense. I mean, the Dolphins' defense hasn't been looking that great
No, it hasn't.
this past year, so the Cowboys would win that. But yeah, both of those teams with their electric offenses, I don't see really any defense stopping them.
No, I mean, you're not wrong. Dolphins.
I have something to say about
Yeah,
Oh,
real quick.
oh.
I
You're
pray,
outnumbered 3-1 here,
I
Jets
really
fans.
pray
I
So-
didn't say anything yet.
I pray in
Don't
life.
throw me
Yeah,
in the ring yet.
no.
Come on now.
but I pray in life that I find somebody that believes in me as much as people believe in the Dolphins this year, because I just don't see it.
That's what I'm saying.
I
I mean,
really
he's
don't
right.
see it.
They're a fake team.
I mean, they're
Oh
not
my
even.
God.
If we really look at it, they're not the best team in their division right now. Their record looks great, but when they played the Bills earlier in the season, they lost 48-20. Every game, you talk about this explosive offense, every game that they've had a good offensive outing against has been against bottom feeders. I mean, that they disintegrated last game against the Tennessee Titans. Every
Yeah,
game
that
that
was
they've
bad.
even put up over 40 points have been against a team that's not even thinking about sniffing the playoffs. I think this team is a first-round exit, truthfully. I really do.
I agree with you there because they can't be a over 500 team to save their life. I like it's just their season is just built on fraudulent, and I don't like that because
not
that
good.
means they get lucky and they just go in. But here I am as a Jets fan again. I just have some pent up anger.
I do.
get
I
it.
mean, I've been saying it everywhere, but Miami's a fake team. And I'm going to say the last time Dallas was in a Super Bowl, every single person on this desk wasn't even born yet. We didn't exist the last time they won a Super Bowl.
What about the last time they were in a Super Bowl? Because I think that might also be the case.
That's also true. I think
Sorry.
you're right. I think the
It
math
comes with
checks
the
out.
territory of being a Cowboys.
I know you can make the same argument for the Jets, or you can be like, oh, the Jets are the best, they're terrible. But you know,
Yeah, my dad
All
was
right,
even
All
born
right,
in the
I
Super Bowl.
I can't do the Jets and Cowboys.
Neither
thing.
was
Milligan.
mine.
I'll throw it back to you. What's your Super Bowl prediction?
Oh, the hoop. I got the Ravens versus the 49ers. I know, I originally had the Cowboys in here, but I'm like,
Always
no.
a fun matchup, though. I
But
love the
look,
Ravens
it's the
now.
revenge of the power outage Super Bowl.
Yes.
Like, all the other Harbaugh isn't there anymore and 49er land. Nevertheless, it's, I don't know why I said that. Nevertheless, look, the Ravens look awesome. They look electric. They look like a legit playoff team that could probably make a run, at least into the AFC Championship, I'd say. And the 49ers, yes, Brock Purdy isn't like, the flashiest quarterback, but he's a game manager and he's a good one. So
Yeah.
I think that if he just keeps sticking to his strengths, they're going to have a really good time with Christian McCaffrey and everything on that defense, too.
Yeah, talked about Dak Prescott as an MVP candidate. Brock Purdy is, too. I mean, he is. I've given him a lot of flack, but he's playing really well. Fritz, moving it over to you, what's your Super Bowl matchup?
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to go with the Ravens versus the Cowboys this year. In the AFC side, the Ravens just look like the most complete team in that league. I don't think anybody's going to stop them. I think the only team that can stop them is themselves. But over to the NFC side, I think this is the year the Cowboys do finally get over that hump. I mean, every time, it's like a repeating story with them, where they have a good season, they have a good record, but when it comes against that game, that one game that they have to prove themselves, they always come up short. I feel like that Eagles game was this game for them this year, where normally you'd see them fold, you'd see them come, but they actually dominated. So I feel like that win is going to give them the edge that they need to go through the NFC and get to the Super Bowl. They're going to lose though. Ravens, let's go.
I mean, I would love to see the Ravens win another Super Bowl. But Trent, and I just kind of noticed you're not very festive today.
yes, I am. I'm always festive, Mark. I'm the holiday ham. So
Yeah, what just give
for
me
my
the matchup.
Super Bowl pick, I honestly have to say the Kansas City Chiefs
Bo.
versus the Detroit Lions. Well, guess what, Mark? Kansas City has been in worse situations than they've been in now and still made it to the big game.
I know.
They're a
It's
team
painful.
who fights and works for it. And then on top of that, Detroit is a team that's hungry and they're looking to finally win. Sure, they're having ups and downs right now, mostly downs, but they're still fighting for it. And I really think that these are two teams that can't just be ignored when talking about this topic. Enough of the Baltimore, enough of the Miami, Dallas, whoever. Give me Kansas City and Detroit. We'll end the season with the game that started the season.
I like it. A great pick from the holiday ham. But as the NFL regular season is drawing to a close, baseball is heating up with free agent moves. It's the MLB up next on Sports Desk.